And we are live back to Welcome to Your Journey, your mini tarot series with all the major arcanics and everything you need to know about the major arcanas and a little bit of how to apply them to your everyday life, to whether you want to read for others. And my name is Katarina.
My name is Sabrina.
And today we're going to talk about
the Death card.
The Death card. We are there. We are at that.
Number 13.
I was going to say middle ground, but it's not really a middle ground.
No.
It's not. But it is one of
It is
rebirth and transformation where you need to let go of the old, right? So I guess you can say middle ground. Or the ending.
It's we didn't write this down, but it's Scorpio in the astrology, and it's also the ruling planet, which is Pluto.
Yeah.
And it's also the 8th house. So if you think about the whole the houses of the astrology, it goes 1 to 12, right? Aries to Pisces. So Scorpio is just the beginning. Like 1 to 7 is the houses are everything before the old version of you, and everything from the 8 and on is like the new version of you. So it's kind of that kind of feeling there, right there. So Death card is all about that. It's like saying goodbye to the old version of you, to the past. Letting go of everything that once felt a little bit stuck, like it's a physical death that's happening in the world, but it's also an emotional death, a mental death, a spiritual death, a whole death.
Yeah.
And death is such a trigger word for so many people, but as we move through this journey, I find less and less people like afraid of it.
I think so. I feel like they have no choice. You're faced with it, whether you like it or not, whether it's in the real physical world where you actually see people dying in front of you and you have to learn how to accept it. And within yourself, like for me, this week has been huge transformation in terms of letting go of the old self. And this is through reliving certain behaviors that I thought I had already learned all the lessons that I need to learn, and realizing, no, there's still a little bit left to learn, and that's because our old self tries to hold on to a part of the future that it wants to, how could I say it? It wants to be part of your future in one way, shape, or form, but a lot of the times you have to transmute that energy so you can actually step into the new version of you, integrate her or integrate them fully, right?
Let's be real, death is something that's going to be ongoing for many, many years for many, many people. Like we're constantly dying because we're we're multi-dimensional beings. So multifaceted. So that's many versions of ourselves constantly in death mode. And it's like something the human has a hard time understanding. It's like, oh my God, why am I feeling like this? And they try to find an explanation for it, but it's really something dying, like etherically, energetically dying. And also there's a lot more, like the more we move through this, the more we understand our missions kind of, or our why we're here. A lot of us are here to harness the physicality of the earth, and some of us are here to harness the spiritual, so many different, and in doing that, in the transmutation of that, you're dying, right? You're killing the energies.
You're definitely not the same person as you were 5 minutes ago.
No.
Or we were yesterday.
Or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And also death is physical.
Yeah.
And death is happening so much right now in the world. And instead of looking at it as a sad thing, we could be sad about it, of course, if someone is passing away in our life, but it's like they're moving into their best version of themselves as well at a soul level.
Yes, to validate everything that comes up, every emotion. Sadness is it's valid emotion to have. Anger is a valid emotion. Joy is everything is a valid emotion. And it's just to allow, I almost feel like that's super important in terms of death, is acceptance, accepting what is, radically accepting. Because without acceptance, you can't really feel safe enough to feel any emotion that wants to come up to the surface, because you're not accepting the thing that's happening. So you're resisting it. And therefore, you're creating a story that says, no, I shouldn't feel like this. I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't be. I mean, look where I'm heading. The future is going to be bright now that I don't have to now that I let this go. But the sadness is still there. It's still something to accept. It's still something to process. It's still something to feel. And if you don't feel it, then I don't believe death could actually truly happen. I don't believe that you could actually move past death into that transformative phase and to the next chapter.
Interesting. So you're saying that if you don't fully grieve like someone who physically dies in your life, or you don't fully grieve your version of yourself, then you remain stagnant.
I believe that if you don't
within that energy field.
I believe if you can't accept it, because your grieving could last maybe 5 minutes. Like, I do believe everybody has their own way of coping, their own way of not necessarily coping, but processing all this energy. But yes, I don't believe if you are not able to accept the facts or just accept what is and allow the emotions to come up and accept whatever comes up to a certain extent. I mean, if you're angry, don't go and, oh my God, somebody that I love just died. I'm going to go shoot the whole city down. There's consequences to your actions. You know what I mean? However, there's healthy ways, there's more constructive ways to feel these emotions, but they need to be felt, or else, yes, I agree that you will be stagnant and you will not be able to.
And it's an interesting thing, because I am one who has dealt with a lot of death in my life, and death comes in different forms, whether it comes from dis-ease, or it comes from the ending of one's life, or an accident, or whatever it comes. It's like 5 minutes. When she said 5 minutes, I don't even think right now, as a spiritually elevated human that I am, could be like 5 minutes, like, oh, I'm done, But that is the goal. Like, it's not the goal, but for me, it's taken me many years to fully accept where my sister is, or where my mother is, where all my family members are, and to say, oh, they're not anywhere. They're just here, right? It's just that I don't see them anymore because they're not in physical form anymore. And that is kind of what we're seeing in the card here with the skeleton, right? The skeleton is like basically for me, what it's showing, I don't know if it's for you, it's like the soul, kind of, because the skin is the vessel, right? I don't know. Kind of
a little bit.
Interesting, because the armor is like the skin. It's almost like the body,
like the toughness. It's
I don't know. Maybe I always thought the skeleton was the body, because it is the body. It's the framework. But when I think about the armor and the skin, anyway, I don't know. Maybe I just like.
Well, it's interesting.
It came out, so it's there.
But why do you say, like, what were you going to say after you?
Because I'm thinking like your soul remains. Like the skeleton to me is like it's like the framework, your blueprint kind of thing. It remains.
Blueprint. I like that.
Kind of, right? It's interesting. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's death is a very, to me, in this matrix, in this inversion that we live in, it's like been feared. It's like, oh my God, we're gonna get old and we're gonna die. But death is the beginning.
Yeah, it's true.
Of your next cycle on Earth, or in the cosmos, or in the Dragonland, or wherever you're going. It's just in the stars, in the moon, in the sun. It's just your next cycle of life.
Yeah, you have to, the ending of one, the beginning of one. A lot of people it's almost like that. Your cup is half empty or half full. So it's the same principle. It's like death could be, oh my God, look at all this stuff that I need to let go. I don't want to let it go. Or, wow, look at all this stuff that I could let go now. So I can now step into something new, step into a new page, a new chapter, a new book, maybe.
Also, like, the human form is just an experience in this omniverse that we are in, right? Like, if we're really elevating and ascending, as a lot of people want to talk about, then we need to, it's fully understand, like, the comprehensiveness of this is that this is just a human vessel, right? It's really just a transient thing where we come in it, we have the human experience, and then we leave it. And then we go and meet each other up in the skies, or down in the waters, or up in the world, wherever, in the ethers. I don't know, right? We don't know specifically. And it's to come to that term of, like, to fully love this experience and the highs and the lows. And it's a challenge. Let me tell you, man. It's a freaking challenge.
Fully accepting. I've come to really realize that everything is radical acceptance. And the radical acceptance will bring forth the honesty and deep truth that is within you. I truly believe that.
You know, I did an automatic writing yesterday, which I will be reading to her later on. And in it was told to me this: what we need in the world right now is emotional honesty. And I was like, wow, man. Yeah.
Because that was the theme last week.
Because it's like being real.
Honesty, radical transparency.
And that's why you guys are here, because we're both real. And that's why you guys follow me on my channel, because I'm freaking real. And it's not very comfortable to be on the other end of me and Katarina. Yeah. Sometimes. And it's not even comfortable to be on the other end of each other.
No. Or of ourselves.
We're fully like,
even myself, sometimes I'm like transparent and honest with myself. And even when I do that, I'm like, oh, I hear my ego push back and it just wants to resist. And I'm like, oh, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I resist it. And sometimes and this is kind of what happened the last 2 weeks.
And resistance is the death in reverse.
Yeah.
Resistance is the death in reverse is resistant to change.
Yeah. It's not letting the death occur. It's like not accepting it.
Not accepting it. Like she's saying, the radical acceptance of death, which is not only a physical, it's a whole thing. And it's allowing it to, for me, it's like, I don't want to be in this old cycle anymore, right? Like, enough with the old programs. Let's move on. And what does that mean for you? I was told in my automatic writing last night that Sabrina, which now they're speaking to me in like Sabrina as a third person, right? Like Sabrina is here, and it's like and it's just so interesting, right? So they're like, Sabrina is here, and she's moving through so many realities at this moment. She has no idea when she's dying, she's living, she has no idea. That's why we can't talk. We're like having a heart. We don't know where, we lose our memory. We're all like over the place because we're constantly like moving everywhere. We're dying to be reborn again.
Yeah.
And it was like, I got a message last night saying, you are like, Sabrina is in the process of creating another reality. And it needs quickly to like release this.
Interesting.
So I was like, oh, really? And I'm like, exciting. I'm already like Sabrina or whatever, the higher self is already starting anew. And you must feel that. We all must feel that. Like we have it in our deepest, we're doing a death card here, but we haven't done a podcast in a month. So we're very much over the top with our death card.
But it's also because it's been a big theme for both of us in these last couple of weeks. So
yeah, it's hilarious.
I mean, it's always going to be a theme because there's always supposed to be a death and rebirth, or else it wouldn't be called a cycle of life.
No, exactly.
We need death so it can nourish the fresh new grounds for whatever new is coming. So
I had a client this week, and I was asking him, I was like, are you willing to let go of all the mind fuckery that's happening in your mind and get ready for the unknown? He's like, what do you mean the unknown? Like, this is death. Death is like
death is unknown.
We die
100%.
to go to an unknown. We don't know what's coming up, but we're like open to it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be
this is the life we're on right now.
Those who are not open, I feel like those who are not open,
who are afraid
to enter this unknown, are the ones that are going to feel the most pain, are the ones who are going to feel the most suffering, because you're resisting it. It comes back down to trust too, right?
Yeah.
Trusting yourself, trusting the process, even when there is pain, even when there is suffering. But I strongly believe that the people who, like for me, for example, it was a huge one. Resisting it created so much tension, so much pain, so much suffering, because it was just like, but why?
Yeah.
Why do I this? Why do I that? And, why always me? Instead of accepting it. It happened.
Yeah.
It happened. Now what?
Now we just move on. That's the thing. This is like, I don't know if
And it could be one step, you
if
know?
any of you are connected to your higher selves or the little voices or whatever that it is, however you get messages in your dreams. Remember, your dreams are not dreams. They're full on messages coming in. They're full on downloads coming in. They're full on clearing happening. So a lot of death is happening within your dream time. Is it happening in your dream time? Are you dying? Are you killing people? You know, is it violent in your dreams?
Mm.
Because that's like your inner inner workings, that stagnancy that's trying to die. And it's like, okay, I gotta freaking come out. The human is not letting me. So maybe in my dream time, I'm going to die. And you're like, and the more violent the dreams are, I feel like the more violent the deaths you see in your dreams, it's like your soul saying, okay, it's time.
Mm.
Chop chop. Like, let's get rid of this. Stop holding on, stop attaching to it. It's true, because I've had
You have a lot of experience with that.
yeah, so many violent dreams I've been having recently. I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay, you want me to get rid of this shit. Okay.
Mm.
Oh, I have to kill my boyfriends. Okay, no problem. Boop, boop.
I'll let them go. Kill them metaphorically.
Metaphorically
speaking, you know?
Anyways, we haven't talked about symbolism.
I was just about to say, I'm like, we should probably just,
There we go.
for all
So
those listening.
We can like share the symbolisms. Well, we see this.
So you have the skeleton.
Yeah.
That's in an armor, that's on a horse, a white horse too, which usually symbolizes purity. And then you have the people right in front of it. So it's death coming towards these people. And they're on their knees and they're begging not to die. Some of them are begging not to basically leave this planet. You have one that's already dead, and then you have the bishop over here as well. I don't remember what the bishop is all about. But then you have the sun in the background. And it's really like that transitional phase, right? He's coming, showing that it's inevitable. Even if you pray, the idea is accepting, right?
Yeah.
It's accepting what is, accepting that you need to let it go.
And the idea of the bishop with the children, there's two kids, a bishop and an older guy here, is that it has nothing to do with age.
It's for everybody. Everybody dies.
Like you could be 5, 7, 75. Death is part of your contract. Like I always say that in a lot of my videos. If a lot of people who, yes, it's of course we mourn the children that we lose, right? Obviously, but a lot of these kids came because they're higher souls who wanted to experience death as a child,
or they came for their parents because they needed to teach their parents something
before they left.
Yeah, but again, these are all rationalizing and using the mind. The idea is that, can you just accept it no matter what it is?
Yeah.
That radical acceptance. This comes from a long line of me trying to understand everything. And it's okay to a certain extent, but you start realizing that it doesn't matter. Yep. It might feel good at the moment, but because you're not actually feeling the emotions, you're rationalizing it, that memory and those emotions are going to come back and going to come back. It's going to come back until you just accept.
Yeah.
Accept what is. Accept that it happened. Accept that maybe you had a part of it. And this is the harder one. A lot of people in their death process, when there is, let's say, the relationship dies or something happens with a partnership, business, love, family members, friendships, a big part is that the radical, what's the word I'm looking for? It's
the rational part of you wants to point fingers.
No, it's
wants to blame.
The radical, like the accountability is what's the hardest. It's the part of ourselves that says, wow, I knew this and I didn't do anything about it, right? I saw this coming, but I decided to stick around. So it's all of those emotions of guilt and shame that come back. And we talk about this all the time, and we're going to talk about it again. But this is what usually keeps us stagnant. This is what usually keeps us in resistance, because you can accept one thing. We can accept that this wasn't right, but then can we accept that we had a part in it? That's the harder part. The part of ourselves that knew it didn't have to go through that, but it did. And to feel that emotion fully and accept that emotion and be like, yeah, you know what? I fucked up. I fucked up too.
Yeah, because it takes
And
two
there's nothing.
people.
Yeah, exactly. It always takes two.
It's like that's why I always like, I can never blame someone fully because I stayed there. So I had to learn something or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I did it. I chose it. I let it go. Like I don't know why we're holding on to all the past. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine, and like she keeps getting upset about the same person week after week. I'm like, just, can you let him go? Can you love him? Because he's just a reflection of you. Let him go. Kill him in your mind. Like, it's over, right? It's like, why are you holding on to him? You're holding on to him because you're not happy with something in your life. So it's easier to put that ire on someone else, right? Just let it go.
Because you don't want to actually
You don't want to
something
face
about it.
Yeah.
And exactly. Face it.
Face your own shit. So like, face it.
With compassion, obviously, because it's not easy. A lot of the times the things that we have to deal with of ourselves is the hardest, or else we wouldn't be in these relationships. We wouldn't be in these continual cycles. We're in these cycles because there's something about ourselves that we haven't fully accepted. So it's in our faces every time until we decide. Perfect example is, one thing could be, you need to learn to be more assertive and learn to set your boundaries. And every time you don't set your boundaries, well, this person is coming at you and then you're getting annoyed. But the reality is you're not setting the boundary, which is probably something that's very hard for you, or else you wouldn't be allowing people to keep doing it. And you're going to always get the same type of men, women, business partners until you actually set your boundary. And this was something that was this was something that was big for my sister. And this is something that we had to work very hard on, because it's not something that she was used to. And there was a whole bunch of other things tied into that. But the main thing was learning how to set your boundaries. And sometimes when you witness what it is, it could feel good, but then it's still for you to take the action, because you can know what it is and you cannot take the action, which will just which the death will still be.
Which is like the accountability that you were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the death is like inevitable. Like, whether, like we said, it's physical, whether it's energetic, whether it's emotional, whatever it is, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It will occur. Like, let's say you're in a relationship that's just like going wrong. The death of that relationship will occur at one point.
Yeah, whether you resist it or
not. And if you keep resisting it, I mean, sometimes you do stay. You stay like 50 years with this relationship that should have died like 45 years ago. But that changes the direction of the sails for you on this planet Earth. It's a choice you're making to remain in this old version of yourself. And that's the choice that you make on your own. It's not like us choosing. Like, it is a choice that you made in a soul level way as well. And that's something that I really pay attention to, because I'm like she said, we're super accountable for every decision you make is on you. It's not on nobody else. It's you, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're here as Sabrina, as Katarina, to make these choices.
Yeah. And this is where, tying back to what you were saying about what humans need to do right now is just be completely honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And that's how you actually gain accountability and authenticity. Especially authenticity is huge, but you cannot have authenticity without transparency. And if you can't be transparent, you can't be honest. You can't be honest with yourself. You can't be honest with others. And then therefore you cannot be authentic. You just can't. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. And authenticity is a key element to everything else you probably want in your life with it, which is unconditional love, right? It's a byproduct. So to me, transparency, honesty,
it's beautiful.
Authenticity,
and it's like
unconditional love.
Like, if you can't be any of these things, like Katarina just said,
to yourself,
you won't be able, like, you won't be able to receive it.
Yeah,
from another.
100%.
Right.
100,000%. Talking through experience over here.
Experience, because I'm dealing with boundary issues too, and like I have to be, if I want this person, the certain people in my life to stop like information dumping on me, then I gotta like speak up and be honest. And that's that's one of our key takeaways is like what emotions come up for you when you think about cutting people out of your life. This is a huge thing.
It's really big, especially when it's big people in your life,
When
like
it's
family
big, like
members,
friends and family,
marriages, and
like a lot of people. It's not about us. You know, I like on the spiritual channels, like remove the toxic people in your life. I'm like, if you think they're toxic, then that means you're toxic. Like, what are you saying? What are you spewing out of your mouth, people? She's not toxic. You only see her as toxic because you're toxic. But you could look at a person and say, you know what? It's just not working. Like we're not speaking on the same level. There's no exchange. There's nothing. I love you, but I can't be with you right now. And that's okay. That's what I'm trying to like.
We're not on the same page. We're not compatible. You know,
like you don't have to be compatible with everybody. And that's one of my issues. Is like in the position that I'm on with YouTube and everything, I'm trying to be compatible with everybody, but I can't.
We're not designed to be compatible.
It's like, this is who me, and this is she is he, and this is it.
And sometimes we don't even like each other. Sometimes we're just like, I don't agree with you. I can't handle this. I gotta go. I need to cool off. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Irritated,
which is okay. It happens. There's moments where
we're learning. That's why learning to love yourself is key. Because when you fully love yourself, then everyone in front of you does not bother you at all.
Yeah, it's
because
true.
You're like, I'm in love myself. So whatever you're saying, I'm not listening to it, or I'm listening with a little limited ear so that you don't like drown me, you know, like it's very easy.
Yeah. Remember this. The ego could only talk to the ego. So your ego could only talk to somebody else's ego, and they feed each other until somebody breaks the cycle. It only takes one person to break that cycle. It only takes one person to just radically accept something so the death could occur, so the new chapter could happen, whether it's in a relationship, in an event, in a moment. Every moment you have the opportunity to allow your ego to die. Every moment you have that opportunity, which is just radically accepting and being transparent.
I'm looking at the time because I'm laughing because Katarina every week's like, today we're going to do 10 minutes, Sabrina. 10 minutes.
Well, because we're supposed to just be talking about the card.
7 minutes.
But it feels like we haven't talked enough with you guys. So here we are.
Okay, so now we're going to ask one of these questions of death, and we're going to pull, right?
Do you want to do a key takeaways first, or you want to do it after? We can do it after.
We'll do it after, yeah.
Go for it. Which one do you want to ask?
Let's see. Let's like what kind of the death question could you ask? Like, what needs to die?
Yeah, what do you need to let go of right now? Exactly. Yeah.
What needs to die right now in your life?
For the
Tell me when to stop.
Okay, stop now.
Stop here? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have 3 cards coming out, which is Justice. Wow. 3 of Cups.
Oh.
And the 2 of Pentacles.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What needs to die right now?
Justice, like right away. Marriage.
Oh,
relationship.
Yeah, I could see that.
The balance. The balance of justice to me is always marriage. Business partnerships. Like
anything that's contractual
stuff. Like a project or whatever, maybe a job, maybe even like maybe a lease, a car lease that's like taking over. You don't need your car anymore, like you just sit in your garage, you know, there's that kind of energy showing up. But the fact that the 3 of Cups is here next to the Justice speaks of people to me, right? Maybe friends. Wow, it's all showing up here. And the 2 of Pentacles is money. So a lot of things happening here. We're saying goodbye to.
I have my own little interpretation too. The first thing that I thought of when it comes
to. Say it.
I will.
Yeah.
The first thing.
I'm not done.
Yeah, but finish up what you were saying.
I'm not like, I'm still looking at it. So you think.
Well, the first thing that I thought of is that you guys have an opportunity right now. You have a goal, you have something in mind, but to do that, you need to find a balance between work and play. That's what I'm seeing over here. The balance between
Mm.
work and play has to do with the fact that I see the Three of Cups over here, and Three of Cups is always about fun, entertainment, finding the right people, because the Three of Cups also is finding the right people that will fill your cups. So it's almost like let go of the people who are not filling up your cups, who are not helping you grow and strive towards the goals that you're looking for. And you're going to know who these people are, because a lot of them are going to be like, oh, you don't have to work hard. You don't have to do that. You're working too. It always goes around not necessarily dragging you down, because I don't think that's people's intention, but it's almost like don't grow so quick, because that means I have to keep myself accountable to grow, so I don't feel like I'm a loser or not doing anything. I see you striving, and then it's almost like they're dragging you down, so they don't have to feel like they need to step it up to get to your level, because then they might not see you, or they might feel, like I said, they might not feel good about themselves, right? Because you're showing what they could do, but they're not doing it, right? So like a mirror effect. And then again, I say that also because the Two of Pentacles, it's also money, like she said, money related, but it's also material related. And there's probably a lot of things going on in your life. So it's almost like you need to find that sacrifice. To me, justice is almost like sacrificing what really matters to you versus what others think might matter to you, or
You know what
no longer matters in terms of
it.
work and play.
Amazing. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You know what I like? Because justice always feels like marriage to me. I don't know why. And then I see the Three of Cups. When the Three of Cups is in reverse, it's like someone's cheating in your marriage.
The
right?
three is a party
The
type of
three
thing.
is like, the third is holding the candle. Like, what is that? What is that?
And there's a
It's like,
thing.
what
I
is
can't
it?
seem to remember what the thing is.
I'm always that for third person always. Most of my friendships, because most of my friends have relationships, and I'm always the one third holding the candle.
Third wheel.
Yeah, third wheel, whatever. Anyway, so to me, I feel like some of you might be in relationships because it feels stable at the moment. Like perhaps there's that the Two of Pentacles, a Capricorn energy, where their focus is a lot on ambition and career and stability. Like it's really important that. And Cancer is the Three of Cups, which is home and family. And Justice is Libra, which is relationships. So all these three elements of your life, like she was saying, is very showing up right now in your life. Are you holding on to are you attaching to a relationship because it's stable in a financial way? Like you don't want to like upheave, like if I leave the house, then maybe at Three of Cups is I have 3 kids, maybe I have, or 2 kids, and I have to, like start all over again. It's like all this like fear of the unknown again, kind of like the death thing, right? You're like, but the death needs to occur here. It's like and especially if you have children, to me, I always feel like you're the leader here for them, right? You're the hermit, the sage, the wise one for the child. It's like, oh my God, my mommy or my daddy is staying in this relationship. They can see it. They're not dumb children, right? They're like, they're staying and they're fighting all the time. They're not sleeping in the same beds. They're not, and they're always fighting about money. And it's like, I don't know. There's some things that's got to give here.
Yeah, it's like it's almost giving permission for your kids not to strive for something else if you are deciding to stay in a relationship that doesn't work. But and it doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean that you can't approach the situation differently. I've known a lot of families where it's like they've broken up, they lived in the same house, but they were very clear, like we're not together. The kids understood it. They had their separate beds, separate rooms, and like there's different ways of approaching it. But can you actually approach and be transparent and honest, no matter what you are feeling? Right? It goes back to the death card. The only way you can let something.
I like your the balance of work and play, though. It shows that very clearly in the cards. I like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Exactly.
It is. It's like a debt. It's like
sometimes we have to let go of our past selves that like to party every day and drink every day, but still wants the house and the family.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't. It's one or the other. At the end of the day. Anyway, that's my opinion.
We've been going on, right? So
so the
key takeaways for this death card is: what areas of your life require letting go to allow for new growth? Which is huge.
Yeah.
Because what area of your life that you need to like stop attaching to?
Yeah.
Like your fear of money. Because if you're continuously afraid of money, you will never have money.
Yeah, especially limiting beliefs. Yes, all those limiting
Your
beliefs.
God will say, well, you don't trust, so we're going to take you on another path. God, creator, source, whatever you believe, right? So that is like a huge thing.
Yeah.
These are not little. The death card is not about little things in
No.
your life. These are major arcana for a reason.
Yeah. They're major pivotal moments in our lives.
And number 2,
different journeys, roads that you can take, right? How can you see endless
endings?
Oh, how could you see endings and deaths as a new start? How could you see that? How could you start seeing it if you can't see it right away? How could you start seeing, okay, so it's not just the glass half empty, it's actually half full because there's something in it and there's something I'm going to learn and something it's almost like fertilizer, right? That's how I see death. It's like the fertilization of a new grounds for something new to come.
It's like looking at, like, I just got fired. Instead of looking and said, oh my God, it's the end of the world for me. It's like, oh, I need to move into a new field.
Yeah.
I need to move into,
like, wow, look at
like
all the opportunities.
Soul has finally like found a way to get you fired. That's how I see it. Because your ego has kept you in that job for way too long because you've stayed in it for fear of change.
Yeah.
And your soul's like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? And it's working with your guides, like, let's do this finally.
Yeah.
Let's burn that freaking store down or whatever it is, right? It's like, chop, let's go.
Yeah.
And it happens in physicalities like that. People who I've had my house burned down, if people have had their houses burned down, if people have these big events happen in your life, it's because your guides or your higher self is like, yo, you're not listening.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Let's get your attention.
So we already said that other takeaway, but I'll say it again. What emotions come up for you when you think about cutting people out of your life? That's like a big one.
Yeah.
Like we said it before.
Is it fear? Is it resistance? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Yeah.
Yeah. So
sit with those emotions too, right? Sit with them.
And like love them.
Yeah, love them. Say, you know what? I would feel guilty if I left this relationship, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. And contemplate whether you can actually do it. And in what ways would you feel comfortable to do it? Because if there is people you need to cut out in your life, it's going to happen in one way, shape, or form. And do you want it to be dramatic, or do you want it to be
flow
your way in a steady flow of like, this is my truth. This is like, again, transparency and honesty.
And it's interesting. It's because this is so important to people. I can't even express. So I'm sure my ex-boyfriend is not watching this podcast. So when I started dating him, we dated for 7 years, people. The first date I was on, I was like, there's absolutely no way I will ever be happy with this man.
Wow.
And I went 7 years with him, people. So it's that initial thing, and not in a relationship. It could be anything, even like a person you meet on the street or whatever. It's that initial moment to really hold on to. Because that is your actual soul talking to you, saying no. And then the ego comes in and says, of course, stop being like this. Be more like open-minded for other people. So that's the thing. That's the,
when you start hearing excuses,
that's your ego.
That's usually not, the little voice. We said it in past podcasts too. The ego screams and your intuition whispers. So
or it's just whisper. Like neutral.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, yes, no. It's like, there's no like emotion. Your soul has no emotion. And that's something hard for people to understand. Your soul is emotion. And your freaking ego is full of emotion.
Yeah.
Whether it's happy and excited or miserable.
Yeah.
It's the house of emotions. And it's okay. And it's work. And this is the work that we're doing. So discernment. The last takeaway is, what positive outcomes have resulted from a past change? Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Interesting. We wrote it, but we're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to focus on the negative ones. Can you find at least one or two or three? And I'm sure once you start, you'll see all the positive ones that came out of you deciding something different than you usually do, or deciding to move forward, or when you decided to be transparent and honest in your life. It's always hard in the beginning, right? With like, ugh, it hurts, and it's like, ah.
Yeah, it could also be like as silly as like I cut out something in my diet, or I started drinking more water, or it's inland, and I'm, oh my god, look at my hair, it's growing again.
Yeah,
these little things are not to be overlooked.
Yeah, I agree.
This is how you're taking care of your human physical form.
Yeah,
which is again, this is something we'll talk about in the future, because the physical is the last, the mind, body, spirit in the Trinity. If we look at it over the years, the spirit is the first thing that we all come into the awakening of, right? We're like, oh, and then we start to notice our ego, how it affects us. The physical form right now, 2024 and on, is the last hit. It's the last point of the Trinity, of the triangle, for this next evolution. So that's where it's at, and we're feeling it physically, and we're feeling in Mother Earth physically, cosmos physically, like everything physical.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because Earth itself has shifted frequencies, meaning the body of we consider her our mother. It's not for nothing. Ancient civilizations have talked about her being a physical aspect of the embodiment, like the physical body, right? That we're all on. And she represents us as well. So our body is, if she's shifting, that means that our vessels are shifting as well. So
yeah. Anyways, we're going to talk a lot about the body
in our lives very soon.
It's huge. And it's also like what I want to impart with you, because it'll be our next podcast, because we're going to talk about that. But notice on your right side, if you're starting to have like some blockages or stagnancy, or if there's like issues on your right side of your body, that's you rejecting your divine masculine.
Oh, interesting.
Because you have been so, like, even whether you're a man or a woman listening or whatever, it doesn't matter, because we have the feminine, the masculine within us.
Yeah.
The left side is the feminine. We've been in full receipt mode for the longest time, but now we need to act. So the divine masculine is trying to integrate, and you're like, fuck off. No, because I'm just used to receiving, and I don't know how to go for it. And it's like a very like deep inner thing that's happening. So pay attention to that. But anyways, we're going to talk about that in podcast.
So interesting. I want to talk about it more. Anyways,
all right.
This is the death card. Catch us again next Saturday.
And in the comments, please ask a question about temperance, which is about balance. Yeah. Emotional and mental balance.
Yeah. Impatience,
and
usually really
moderation.
Yeah. Where do you need moderation right now? Or how can you apply more moderation? How could you apply more patience
with yourself?
Yeah. Or you can just do a little Google search on temperance and see if there's anything else that I would like to
and ask us the question, and we'll respond.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah. We're going to give it's a free little tarot
reading, and according to your life, like, so we can work with you guys.
Exactly.
Right? All right.
Anyways,
that's it.
More to come in terms of our podcast, which we're going to be starting next week. It's going to be mostly live. We're still working on the logistics.
We have to figure out times.
So exactly. If there's any times in particular that you'd be like, I would watch you at this time on this day.
Some people have answered already. So
perfect.
Thank you for that.
Perfect. And we'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think by next week
we're going to be some changes too.
Yeah, switching it over to
a different platform.
Welcome to your journey
or whatever
channel.
We'll see what's going on.
And you might see us on Rumble too. For all those who watch Rumble.
Okay. All right.
Expanding our platforms.
Whatever.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's it for today.
Okay.
Till next time.
Okay. Bye.
And,
I love you.
See you soon. Wait, give me a moment. And here we go.